Vasistha talks about the bliss of the Absolute. The bliss, doesn't that sound good? I'll have some of that, thank you very much. As far as I'm concerned, the Yoga Vasistha covers the same ground as other texts of ancient wisdom, like the Tao Te Ching, which is the seminal text of Taoism in China, and also of Zen Buddhism. Zen Buddhism itself was a getting back to the essence of Buddhism, particularly Mahayana Buddhism, which in itself was getting back to the essence of Buddhism. And as far as I know, bliss isn't mentioned so much in these texts. It's certainly mentioned quite a lot in Hinduism and in the Yoga Vasistha. And it can become a little bit of a distraction because we're looking for this bliss. I don't really want to say too much about it, but what I think is worth examining is the extent to which we can actually recognize bliss, to the extent to which we're actually open to the possibility of bliss. It seems to me that a lot of spirituality is about opening up to what is actually here and now, rather than ideas of here and now, ideas of reality. We tend to be caught up in ideas of reality, which means we're not actually open to how things are. And this notion of bliss, which we sometimes get in spiritual teachings, as if there's going to be this wonderful ball of beautiful light that we can disappear into. That's a nice fantasy. But let's just see to what extent we're actually open to bliss. There was a book I came across recently called The Irritable Male Syndrome. And I mean, sure enough, we've got the phenomenon of angry young men who tend to think they know what's wrong with the world and how to set it right. And we've also got at the other end, we've got grumpy old men who tend to think they know what's wrong with the world, but they're too old to do anything about it. And there's possibly a continuum from being an angry young man to being a grumpy old man. Is it possible for such a person who's got the habit of being negative, of being angry, of being resentful, is it possible, once you've got that habit, is it possible to actually be open to bliss? You really have to get beyond that habit of seeing what's wrong with everything. And taking it personally. This doesn't mean to say you don't engage with making the world a better place. You can do that, but do you have to do it from the point of view of anger? Do you have to do it from the point of view of indignation and self-righteousness? Can you not just get on with it in a positive way? So that's all I'm going to say about bliss for the moment. It's a lovely idea, isn't it, that we can be heading towards bliss. But in the meantime, what we can be looking at is our capacity for acknowledging bliss, or for being open to bliss. Because if our capacity for being open to bliss is not developed, then you know, we what's the point of aiming for it? It's like going to a restaurant and ordering 4 meals because you like the idea of it, but really you can only take 1 at the most. So this world becomes an abode of bliss. It should be, shouldn't it? It should be an abode of bliss. So once you're there, such a person has nothing to acquire, nor anything to shun. He is untainted by the defects of life, untouched by its sorrow. He does not come into being, nor go out, though he appears to come and go in the eyes of the beholder. Even religious duties are found to be unnecessary. He is not affected by the past tendencies, which have lost their momentum. His mind has given up its restlessness, and he rests in the bliss that is his essential nature. Such bliss is possible only by self-knowledge, not by any other means. Hence, one should apply oneself constantly to self-knowledge. This alone is one's duty. So self-knowledge here is obviously, in a very profound sense, it's more than navel-gazing. It's self-knowledge, is inquiring into self-knowledge to the extent that you actually go beyond all notions of who you are, of your own psychology. So it's in that sense that you no longer come and go. You neither come into being nor go out. You've transcended all notions of being. You've nothing to acquire, nothing to shun. This doesn't mean to say that you're sitting in some lotus position, coursing in bliss. You're still getting on with life. Maybe you've got a business, maybe you're doing a job, maybe you've got a family. You're still getting on with all that. You're still getting on with the duties that you need to get on with. But you don't need to be doing anything. Your sense of being is untouched. He who disregards holy scriptures and holy men does not attain self-knowledge. So I suppose it's saying here that you really can't do this on your own, you do need some help. Which is fair enough. It's good if you can get some indication from those who've been before, who've followed this path. Such foolishness is more harmful than all the illnesses that one is subject to in this world. Hence, one should devoutly listen to the scripture which leads one to self-knowledge. He who obtains this scripture does not again fall into the blind well of ignorance. O Ram, if you want to free yourself from the sorrow of samsara, repetitive history, receive the wholesome instructions of sages like me and be free.